Do you ever wish you could see more engagement with your brand online? You're not alone. Right after driving awareness, engagement is the second biggest and perhaps most elusive concern for online marketers. Today, we're going to look at different types of engagement and define 3 areas your brand can focus on to generate more engagement online. When we think of online engagement, we often think about people commenting on a blog post. But as you know, engagement comes in a lot of flavors. Here are a few examples of the way that people can engage on different types of sites. To keep things simple, we've broken these down into the top 10 ways people engage. Each type of engagement has value, but that value is not always the same. Let's go through them. There's visits. That's basically people just showing up, which increases your web traffic. Consideration. That means they hang around and consume your content. This increases time on page, which is good for SEO. Acknowledgement. These are likes, ratings, favoriting, basically pushing a button. They're low engagement activities, but provide a public receipt that the content was consumed. Contribute. This is actually taking the time to leave a comment. Follow. It's when people subscribe to your channel or your feed, which provides a passive channel to contact all of them. Information. This is submitting personal data, like filling out a survey, which provides us with marketing intel. Permission. It's when people submit an email or a phone number, which enable further one-on-one contact. Create. This is when people add things like posts or pictures that enrich your brand's content. Amplify. This is when people share your content with their proprietary audience, and in the process, promote brand awareness. Advocate. This means actively endorsing your brand to their proprietary audience, which, in addition to promoting awareness, also fuels understanding, interest, and trust in the brand. Of course, the ultimate form of engagement is monetary, when the individual actually purchases the brand's product. But just because people don't buy something doesn't mean your brand is left empty-handed. Your visitors can pay with engagement. This type of social media currency has already been formalized by brands like Kellogg's and Marc Jacobs, who allow customers to pay for products with tweets in their pop-up shops. So if we define engagement in these terms, how can we encourage it? Well, I think we can look at 3 areas that you might want to focus on right away. The first is traffic. Forrester Research segmented all the people online into 7 categories. The largest group are the spectators, accounting for about 3 out of every 4 web users. Aside from visiting, they engage very little. So if you really want high engagement, you're going to need high traffic levels to ensure you get enough of that active minority to make a difference. There are other reasons you'll need a lot of traffic to drive engagement. It's a bit like a chicken and an egg conundrum. The amount of engagement on your site tends to attract more traffic, which drives more engagement, and so on. For instance, in the case of commenting on a blog, you'll find that lots of traffic almost guarantees that someone will leave a comment. And once the seal is broken and one comment begets more comments and more comments, in part because someone was brave enough to go first, but also because the comments take on a life of their own, fueling their own growth. And if you're going to take the time to comment, wouldn't you be more inclined to do it on a site that you felt had a lot of visitors? That way your brilliant remark gets more exposure. The next area to focus on is consistency. We have a lot to learn from publishing and broadcast here. Magazines, radio, and TV stations learned long ago that to build an engaged audience, you need consistency. Think back a decade ago and imagine you never really knew when the nightly news was going to be on TV. With regard to content, strive for consistency when you post, what you talk about, and how you present it. To help, you may find this content matrix handy. In broad strokes, these are the 4 types of content on the web, and your audience will rapidly deduce which of these 4 boxes your content falls into. It's important to match the type of content you use with your objectives. Now, of course, good content will incorporate a little bit of each, but it will primarily be known for delivering on one of these 4 categories, or perhaps a stable combination like The Daily Show in the US, which combines news and humor. Take the BBC, for example. They have content that spans all these categories, but the reason I go there is because I see them as a source of news. I go to the oatmeal or the onion to be amused. If these expectations are not met, consumers get confused and tend to move on. And there's one more area you can focus on to boost engagement, and that's ideas. People may feel one way or another about products, but they engage around ideas. Many brands have realized this and have elevated their messaging to a higher level to drive their engagement. Dove is one of the clearest examples of this, with their campaign for real beauty. Based on insights from consumer research, they discovered that most of their prospects have a poor body image, and that this topic was a very emotional one for them. It didn't hurt that it also fits in with a broader social undercurrent today. So in 2004, Dove changed its brand messaging to focus on this issue. It's been a great success, but of course, it's also had its share of criticism. That happens when you stand for anything. As Bill Bernbach famously said, if you stand for something, there'll be some people for you and some people against you. But if you stand for nothing, there'll be no one for you or against you. If a brand doesn't have a strong budget, it better have a strong cause if it wants to engage its audience. In the case of Dove, they happen to have both. You can imagine how much more engaging this brand became when they stopped talking about soap and started talking about something people actually cared about. Okay, so the main takeaway here is that you have many different types of engagement, and some will be more valuable to your brand than others. And if you want to encourage that engagement, try focusing on traffic, consistency, and a big idea that your brand can make its own. And remember, use it or lose it. If you don't put this to work within 48 hours, it will self-destruct. Good luck.